Good morning, staff. Welcome back to the new 2019-2020 school year. On today, we're going to get started with our first in-service for the week of in-service. I hope everybody had a relaxing summer and that we're ready to come on back in and be ready for kids. Over the summer, myself and my leadership team and a couple of teachers, we were here working on getting things together for the new school year, all the things that we need to do for kids, and looking at some new programs and what works best for the campus here at Lincoln Middle School. Okay, so on today, we're going to go ahead and talk about the new program that we decided as a school to go with. Before I actually get into what you're going to do with that program, I want to kind of focus on the data piece that's a part of the district. We will be one of the last schools in the district to adopt this program. Right now in Riverbend District, Riverbend ISD, we have at least 3 campuses that are using this model, okay? And so far they have shown success. Of course, the first year has been a little rocky because it was the startup of the program. And of course you have to get the program in, get familiar with it. Your teachers have to get familiar with that program, and then from there, you should see results, okay? So I want to tell my staff today that don't get discouraged. Yes, you're gonna get some bumps there, but as we go through the year and we continue this program, we should see the growth that we're looking for, okay? So now, I want to go ahead by starting by talking about the Riverbend District, Riverbend ISD as a whole, and the test outcomes from Raise Up Texas, which is the strategic instructional model. That's where that model comes from, Raise Up Texas. So we're going to talk about the data from our district with the test outcomes versus national norms, okay, and where we fell, okay? So when you think about this exam that's given, at the beginning of the school year, you guys are going to have to give the students a pre and a post test at the end. With the pre-test, that kind of tells us where our students stand, where they are reading-wise, and what we need to do to plan accordingly using this model, okay? So it's very important that we understand what this data is for, why we're using it, where we plan to go ahead with it. Okay, so as you can see here, in Riverbend ISD, the Gates-McGinnity results versus national norms, we have grade level 6, 7, and 8. So I'm going to start with 7th grade. The pre-test score was 504. The expected was 508. Okay, so when we started out in the pre, we were at 504, but the expected outcome should have been 508 of what we should have gotten. Okay, so over a course of time, the posts, we did show some growth as a district at 513 points, okay, as far as the game. Yes, that's wonderful as a district, okay? Now, our 8th graders pre-test was 499. The expected growth was, the expected target was 502. As we resulted into posts, we did show growth at the end of the school year as a district at 512 in growth target, okay? And now when we talk about grade 6, grade 6 did show some growth. Once again, this is something we talked about at the end of the school year last year. We talked about our 6th graders coming in, those 5th graders coming into 6th grade. We all know that that's a transitional year for our students leaving elementary and coming into middle school. It's the same when 3rd graders leave 3rd grade and they move into 4th grade. That's a transition year because now they know that foundation piece and they're moving into reading for fun and learning to read. So at this point, we have grade 6 pre-test scores was 476. The expected should have been 479, but at the end of the school year post, we had 486. So we had a few gains, about 9% there, okay? So now, we're gonna look at one of our campuses within Riverbend ISD. The first campus we're gonna look at is Christa Middle. And with Christa Middle versus National Norms, their sixth grades, I'll start with sixth grade. Their sixth grade pre-test was 466. Their expected target was 466, so they came in where they should be. So now they grew those sixth graders post-year at 493%. So they made the percentile, okay? Great job. So now we look at seventh grade. Their pre-test scores was 515%. The expected target was 520. Okay, so by the end of the school year, they showed a growth target of 533%. Are there any questions so far? Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. All right, so now we'll look at grade 8. Eighth grade pre-test was 500. The expected target was 503%. At the end of the school year, they grew to 515. Okay, so that's one of our campuses in the district that uses this model. So far, we see the growth. And this is something that we studied over the summer. As we met as a CBLT team, we looked at the data and we looked at the different campuses to determine which campus showed the most growth, which campus did the most. And we saw there was significant gains within those campuses. So now, when we look at Lewis Middle, test outcomes versus national norms, we talk about sixth grade starting at the beginning of the school year, they were at 481. Their actual target should have been here, 483. But of course, at the end of the school year, they didn't show that much of a gain. I'd say about 2%, but 485. And then a lot of times I look at this, when I don't see that much gain, you have to think about two. What was the transition of teachers? A lot of times when we lose teachers during the school year, or we lose a lot of staff coming into the new school year, those teachers have to be trained. All that plays a part in how effective the program is. So those are some things we're working out as a district, and I'm sure Lewis Middle School is also on their way to doing that. Grade 7 pre-test was 496. Their expected was 498. So they were close. Now, at the end of the school year, their expected was 495 is what they had to make, and they went 1 point over. Now, as the year ended, they wound up at 498. But once again, this could be a situation where we had the influx of teachers in and out, schools, students changing schools, new to the program, those type of issues that we're still trying to work out, okay? Grade 8 pre-test was 498. Their expected target coming in would have been 501, but they had 498, so they weren't far from that goal. And at the end of the school year, they were at 507%, okay? So they showed some gain at this school, minimum. And when I think about Lewis is more like our campus. They do have the social economic status of predominantly Hispanic population as well as African American. They have a lot of kids that are from group homes, so they're here 1 month, they're out the next. So once again, those factors play a huge part in how well the program can work. But I believe as a team, we can get our students where they need to be. Okay, so I'm gonna look at one more campus, and we're gonna talk about City Middle. City Middle, for some reason, I don't have their 8th grade data, but we'll look at their 6th and 7th grade data. 6th grade pre-test, they had 483%. For Raise Up, coming in, the expected target was 487. At the end, 478, so they actually grew. They showed the growth there, okay? A slight growth. Grade 7, pre-test 491. The expected target was 492, so they were behind a point. At the end of the year, they were at 498. Okay? Are there any questions so far about the data? Yes, ma'am?
Okay, it said that the, sixth grade, and the dotted is what is expected, right, they did 47. But actually, even though it says raise up, they actually regressed, they went down.
Right,
So that was, again, probably something that
right.
went to the dynamics that you were speaking of.
Right, and when you think about this program, the strategic instructional model is built for middle school and high school students. So once again, when we had this conversation, and I've met with a lot of the new teachers coming in, we have a large population of students here that are reading below grade level. And at that point in time, we have to meet our students where they are. So this was one of the programs that attracted us the most as a school district. This is one that we pretty much looked at together and decided that with the amount of time that's needed to show that amount of stability and growth with the program, it can be possible. But of course, we have things that we deal with. We have kids that come in and out. We have kids that are really being raised by grandma, whoever's there, and they're not really steadily in the school daily. Attendance is a big problem sometimes here, but for the most part, we do have about 86 to about 95% of our students showing up every day. So once again, we're working on building. This was like the first year of this program launching, okay? So this is the data from that, okay? All right, and we're going to move on into the instructional piece. What I'm going to work with you on today is actually introducing to you the unit organizer. This is one component piece of the instructional plan that you all will do this school year. There's a series of different instructional strategies that you all will work on. The unit organizer is pretty much your sole piece. And the reason why I say that is because with that unit organizer piece, it's going to help you as a teacher plan your lesson for the unit. It's very important that our students understand what they're going to cover prior to getting to the unit. I want you to look at this piece, and you may look at it and it may look overwhelming to you. But keep in mind, as we organize that unit, it's also an organizer for your students. This is something that our middle schoolers have a hard time doing, keeping up with notes.
Right.
So when they use this instructional strategy here, it's going to not only help them keep up with their notes, but it can also be used as a study tool. So when you all give those assessments, you have already mapped those lessons out. They know exactly where they can go back and refer to look for information based on the information that their test will cover. So that's the purpose of us using the unit organizer, is to develop a plan for what we want to see our students do at the end, okay? So we're gonna take a 2-minute break, and we'll be right back, and we're gonna go ahead and get started with the instructional piece.